When we go through these, I'd just like for you to notice what comes up for you around these movements, because the first movement, just think about right now in your life, just this year so far, who or what has inspired you the most? Who or what? And it's important to track what inspires us, because we cannot be inspired unless it has meaning. It's impossible. And so even if I were to track for 30 days at the end of each day, just that question, who or what inspired me today, at the end of the month, you're going to be surprised at what has meaning for you. Because inspiration always is related to meaning. It's impossible to be surprised unless somehow it's meaningful for you. So the first movement, and it's interesting, we never gather anything unless it's meaningful. So the first movement of creativity is when is a combined twofold movement. I gather what has meaning, and whatever has meaning inspires me. So just notice doing that. Gathering. What am I gathering? Because whatever I'm gathering, pulling together, has meaning. Otherwise, I wouldn't be gathering it. And so you think about people who have collections of things, right? Collections of things, they're gathering. And whatever they're gathering or a collection, it has meaning. And you'll find these four great movements, and there are two. They come in pairs. There are 4 pairs, and they make 8. But gathering, whatever we gather, always uplifts us. It has meaning. Gathering, and what has meaning? Gathering, meaning. Gathering, meaning. Gathering, meaning. And in every story cross-culturally, something is being gathered or searched for because it's meaningful. We don't go on a journey unless we've been called and it has meaning. And so what have I gathered already this year in my life, in my work or in my relationship? What have we gathered that has inspired us both? Or what have I gathered in my creativity that is really meaningful? And yesterday, you know, we gathered images. We gathered images purposefully. We gathered those images. And the images that we actually picked or drew have meaning. We gathered and it was meaningful, right? Gathering and rising. Gathering and rising. That's the first great creative movement. And everywhere in the world now, in everyone's life, something is being gathered and something has meaning. Even when people are depressed. Even when people are depressed. Even when people are depressed, you can always reach them by what they genuinely like. Whether it's food or whether it's color. Anything that's a favorite tree, a favorite color, a favorite flower, has meaning. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a favorite. Gathering and rising. Okay, that's the first. The second, somewhere in our life, besides gathering and rising, we're growing, we're expanding, and we're also contracting. Expanding and contracting. Expanding and contracting. Expanding and contracting. Expanding and contracting. This is the breath. Breath every day is expanding and contracting. It's also the heartbeat. Expanding and contracting. Expanding and contracting. It's the second great creative movement. I can't grow unless I expand. And I can't learn about limits and boundaries unless I contract. Limits and boundaries, contract. Knowing what my limits and boundaries are. Expand, contract. Definition, expand and define. Expand and define. Expand and define. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, second great movement. That's going on universally in everyone's life somewhere. So what in my life right now is expanding and what is being defined or clarified? Expanding, where am I growing this year? And where am I getting clear and defining? What am I clear about? What do I know are clear limits and boundaries for me? Definition. So after contracting, and these don't go into, we can be doing these simultaneously in different parts of our lives, and they're not hierarchical. We could start anywhere. But also the other great movement that's happening all the time is inflow, and outflow. Inflow and outflow. Some of us have too much coming in, we get flooded and overwhelmed. Too much inflow. Too much outflow, get exhausted and overextended. But the balance is also giving is the outflow, receiving is the inflow. This is where we create mutuality and collaboration. Inflow and outflow. Inflow and outflow. Inflow and outflow. Very different movement. Very different movement. Very different movement. In and out. In and out. And it's all, I can't do in and out unless I'm open. Unless I'm open. Nothing can come in and nothing can go out when I'm closed or shut down. So inflow and outflow. And just noticing which of these are even easy or difficult for you to even do often shows us where we're at ease with certain movements and where we find it very difficult. Okay, and then the last pair is settling, another word for integration, settling, integrating, settling, and releasing. Settling and releasing. Settling and releasing. Settling and releasing. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Now we can do them all together now. And that's what happens in every project. Every project, all at once, all of these movements, anytime we're creating, and anytime when those two great mysteries, death and birth, come together, we are in the force of creativity. And these are the 8 movements. In Qigong, these are the eight movements. You know, if you really study Asia, they've thought, well, what are the movements that come out of the oldest book of changes? And this is it. This is it. Because we're all experiencing these in different parts of our lives. So we can start first, you know, before creativity, we start preparing, you know, oh, I'm really interested. What am I, anyone out loud, what's a topic that has had your imagination this year that you've started gathering information about it? Anyone? Community. Okay, great, community.
Elder.
Huh?
Elder.
Elder. Just notice what's captured your curiosity, because wherever my curiosity is captured and has heart meaning, I've already begun to gather because it has meaning So I'm rising, and it's allowing me to grow and to clarify and define, and it's allowing for more inflow and outflow so that I can settle it and integrate it and then release it. Isn't that fun? Okay, so here we go again. Here we go again. Because this is happening all the time. Inside, with work with myself, you know, what am I gathering about myself? And what am I curious about myself that has meaning, that is allowing me to expand and see new perspectives and clarify and define and to allow for the inflow so that I can outflow and that I can settle and release. Every story, something is being gathered that inspires us and uplifts us and allows us to expand and see things differently and to clarify and define so that there can be more inflow and outflow, and allows us to settle so that we can release and let go. And that's when we lose time, or we experience a timeless place. And we all have experienced timeless place. Guess what's been happening? All those movements at once. And sometimes we can start with stretching and expanding and defining and clarifying, but it always takes us to the inflow and to the outflow and settling and releasing so that we can gather and rise again. So anywhere you start, I'm really in this settled place, everything's really integrated and I've just let go and oh, interesting, I'd like to give out this and come back here, gather and uplift, and there they all are. But if you really, before you start a new project or working with a team, what do we want to gather together and what has collective meaning for us so that we can rise together in a meaningful way that will allow us then to explore and expand and clarify and define and come in and go out and create mutuality together so that we can settle and integrate and finish the project and let it go. Let it go. So that was fun, huh? Yes. That was fun, huh? And that's what happens. That's the story over here in community. That in the whole room, some of us are in a gathering, rising place, and some of us are in a stretching, defining place, and some of us are really in this place of inflow and outflow and collaboration and mutuality, and some of us are, something's falling into place and coming together, and it's completing itself, and it's time to let go. And all that's happening all the time. All the time. So just notice who and what came to mind, and that allows us to go into some circles together to capture what is my heart of my work with self at this time, what is the heart of my work in relationship at this time, what is the heart of my work in community at this time, and of these 4 movements, which is the easiest for me? Do I really follow meaning? Do I follow what uplifts me, or do I take it for granted? Because wherever I'm inspired, it has meaning. It has meaning, and that means that's where I can truly be creative with my gifts and talents. We don't track enough of our inspiration, so who or what inspires me? Already yesterday and today, who or what inspired me? Yesterday and today, who or what challenge me to look again, or I found a little unfamiliar, we're going to do this movement thing. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? I don't want to do that. But those are the movements. And one of the things indigenous peoples always use the voice and the hands to imprint for memory. You won't forget these. Okay, so here we go again. Here we go again. Gathering. There's the voice and the arm and the hand imprint. Gathering. And remember, we have an original sonic, and indigenous peoples recognize that our voice strengthens, the sound of our voice singing, chanting, or singing strengthens the immune system. Native Americans have said, sing for your life. Sing for your life. So gathering and rising, gathering and rising, gathering and rising, gathering and rising. I've worked with depressed people or people who have panic attack disorders, and I have them doing gathering and rising, and you can't stay depressed and do gathering and rising. It's impossible. It's impossible. Gathering and rising, gathering and rising. And then stretching, expanding and stretching and contracting and defining, expanding and stretching and defining and constricting, expanding and defining and contracting. Just notice which of these are easiest for you. Where do you come into your largesse? Inflow, outflow. Inflow, outflow, inflow, outflow. If I have trouble expanding and defining, I'm going to have trouble with inflow and outflow, because inflow and outflow, I make room for inflow and outflow when I expand and constrict. So, and then settling and releasing, settling and releasing. And now just close your eyes and silently do those movements yourself. No fair peeking. And just notice which ones you forget. And then just silently do them in your mind, because sometimes in a meeting is to track what energy needs to be here right now. What energy? Maybe there's too much inflow. Maybe there's too much outflow. Track in any meeting. Track in your relationship. Is there too much expansion and not enough definition? Is there too much settling and not enough release? Is there too much gathering without rising? So one of the great mysteries. Okay. Oh yeah.